Oh no, I forgot to heal.
Welcome, Battle Clerics. I hope you're as excited as I am for this brand new and fresh take on clerics in the MMO genre. This cleric isn't your typical main healer that stands in the back and presses complete heal. No, this cleric is actually going to use its armor. It's going to sit in the front, it's going to mix it up, and it's going to bash some skulls in with a giant mace. So let's get into it. Let's look at all the new information that Tome has for us from the most recent Pantheon Rise of the Fallen dev stream. Now, as I stated before, this cleric is way different than most MMO clerics you've played before. In fact, the closest comparison that I can come up with is not even a cleric from a video game, but rather the cleric from the D&D tabletop game. Like the D&D cleric, the Pantheon cleric wears heavy plate, and while they probably won't be tanking mobs on a regular basis, they'll be able to take a few hits and at least deal with the cleave damage and general area effect spell damage that tend to happen when you're in melee range. The Pantheon cleric's healing spells are focused around absorption and mitigation, and not direct healing. This is a massive departure from EQ clerics and most other MMO clerics who tend to focus on being the king of direct heals. This cleric also specializes in making the undead full-time dead, perhaps maybe even being able to flex into the DPS role when killing undead mobs. As a former EQ cleric, I can tell you that being in an unrest group, finding undead mobs, being more like a wizard than a cleric is so much fun. The cleric will also be able to summon useful items. Tome didn't go into details about what actually can be summoned, but simply said the items would be useful for the cleric and the rest of his or her group. That sounds pretty cool. Tome lastly talked about how they are designing the cleric so it encourages and it rewards cleric for being at the front line of battle. That sounds like a cleric I've always wanted to make in an MMO, but was really never allowed to, so I'm so excited for it in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Now on to my favorite part of the dev stream, new spells. There were 5 new cleric spells that we got to see: Invigorate, Celestial Guard, Tomb of the Initiate, Bonds of Faith, and Faithful Strike. Let's get into it. The first cleric spell is called Invigorate. It grants your target endurance and also an endurance regen buff. Not super flashy, but as we know, endurance is used for climbing and running, so this spell will allow you to run longer and faster, and also maybe will allow you to climb that huge mountain off in the distance, the one you weren't able to get up before. But as we take a closer look at the Pantheon website, specifically the classes page, we see that Warrior, Paladin, Ranger, Monk, and Rogue all use endurance as a part of their skills. So that means you are now the EQ Enchanter with the Clarity spell for melee classes. That's basically what this is. That seems really powerful. The second spell Tome gives us is called Celestial Guard. This is our first example of an absorption shield, or as I like to call them, bubble shields. It restores health and then applies Celestial Guard for 30 seconds. Celestial Guard absorbs 180% or 360% if below 20% health of the damage healed. Now, is this total healing the target has taken, or is this just the healing from Celestial Guard? We don't know yet. If it's all the healing, then this could be super overpowered, especially in raids, and make your tank very unkillable. Guess we'll have to see. Also, I can see some powerful builds involving the Dire Lord tanks that stack hit points that allow you to more safely get yourself to that 20% threshold to get that massive 360% shield. Anytime percentages are involved in an MMO, it's generally really powerful. The third spell Tome talks about is called the Tome of the Initiate. This gives the cleric the ability to summon an offhand tome or book that makes melee strikes regenerate mana. Mana regeneration is almost always an amazing thing. Plus, this spell can probably be used and then unlearned to make room for another spell in your limited action set. More powerful tombs, in later levels, will have increased and more powerful effects. My question with summoned items has always been, how do you balance them? I've yet to see this do well in an MMO. They are either too weak and nobody ever uses them, or they are so powerful that they make all other offhand items or whatever item you summon worthless. Who knows, maybe Pantheon will finally get this right and it'll be a first. The 4th and 5th spells Tehom talks about kind of go together. Bonds of Faith and Faithful Strike. The Bonds of Faith spell causes certain abilities to restore health to the cleric or an ally when used. Faithful Strike is one of those spells that works with Bonds of Faith, causing it to heal. So with this 2-spell combo, you can both cause damage and heal damage. This can make the cleric a great secondary healer that also does some DPS. It comes at a great cost though, because the full combo takes up 2 spell slots of your very valuable limited action set. So look out, paladins and warriors. Your 2-handed blunt raid drop weapons just might be rolled on by a cleric. Combat cleric for the win. Out of all the healers, cleric is what interests me the most. I mean, I'm not going to be able to play the wizard all the time. I'm going to have to take a break at some point. At that point, I'll probably roll a cleric ult. I think it'll be super fun. You have the absorption or bubble heals. You have the full plate armor. You have the up in every mob's grill just bashing. I think it's going to be super fun. So what did you think? Are you going to lean into the battle cleric, or are you going to go for maybe a more traditional cleric? Let me know in the comments. Also, make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any future class or race videos that Pantheon Plus puts out. Have a great day. Dragon Tech out.